Hello viewers, my name is Bernard Agbonoshi. You can simply call me Bernardis. I am the founder and the director of the health organization Bernardis Preventive Health Education. I am also the author of the public-friendly medical book titled The Role of Public Medical Knowledge in Disease Prevention and Treatment. I am a nurse clinician and I work in one of the teaching hospitals in the country. As a clinician, I am of the view that for one to maintain excellent health or for one to live in good health, such individual must know the determinants of health. Yes, such individual must be aware of the factors or the things that can positively influence or negatively influence his or her health. This is so because if one has no knowledge on the determinants of health, things that determine one's health, such person may end up doing the very things that put the health at risk. Such person easily ignore the very things that will put his health in better shape. So it is imperative, it is important that as we seek to live in good health and to avoid sicknesses, let us first of all seek basic knowledge on the things that can make us to fall sick and the things that can improve our health. And that is the basis for this project, this health talk presentation that I have started. We have already looked at two major disease topics, hypertension and sickle cell disease. The video presentations on these two topics are on my Facebook page. Kindly visit the page at Bernardis Primary Healthcare Media and watch the video presentations on the topic. Today, let's start with a new disease topic, diabetes. What is your view on this disease? Have you heard of this disease before, diabetes? How do you understand diabetes mellitus? How is it called in your local dialect? Well, I would say diabetes is one of the most well-known diseases. Diabetes is also one of the diseases that is most misunderstood, or people have misconception about it. A lot of people have wrong understanding on this disease. It is one of the pure lifestyle diseases, which means that the public or the individual has a great role to play as to whether he or she will get this disease or not, especially the type 2 diabetes. So it is a disease that people know something about it, but what they really know about this particular disease is wrong, is a misconception, wrong understanding, and hence a lot of people take measures that directly or indirectly put them at risk of getting this disease. So let's start by looking at what diabetes really is. But before we go on, let's talk about some of the misconceptions that a lot of people have on this disease, especially in Ghana. In Ghana here, the local name for diabetes, the accounts call it a citriaria. The Ewes call it secretor. The Gans call it secrehela. And when you translate all of these names in the local dialect into English, it literally means sugar disease, in quotes. So in the local dialect, diabetes is referred to as sugar disease. Unfortunately, a lot of people take this name of diabetes in the local language directly to mean that diabetes is directly caused by sugar or sugary food. And again, as I do say in my presentation, that when people have wrong knowledge or understanding on a particular topic or issue, they resort to wrong measures to find a solution regarding that topic or issue. Yes, so it is very sad to go to the communities to educate people on diabetes, or sometimes even screen them based on the kind of understanding they have, based on the kind of understanding that they pick from the local names that we give to these diseases. They will just not allow you. But sometimes when you look at such people, sometimes you check the blood sugar of someone and then it is way off within the normal range, which clearly suggests that the person is having diabetes. But because he or she is having the knowledge that sugar is a direct cause of diabetes, and according to him or her, he has stopped taking sugar for 20 years, he or she doesn't believe that he will ever experience diabetes because he has eliminated the cause of the disease. So I think on national level, we need to take a critical look at the kind of local names that we give to topics, for that matter, diseases. For instance, hypertension to the same thing. They call hypertension moja busro, which literally means, if I would say excess blood or excessive blood. That excessive blood is not hypertension. So we really need to take a second look at the kind of names, local names that we really give to such kind of topics, because our folks or people in rural areas, people who are less educated, take the literal meaning from the names that we give to such kind of topics or diseases. It's not only people who are less educated. You go to people who are well educated and you try to seek their view or knowledge on such kind of disease topics, and you'll be surprised the kind of understanding they have. So it is not the problem of people who are uneducated or people who had less education. It is a problem that we give a certain kind of local names to diseases where people easily interpret wrongly, and then they live with it doing things that can make them get the disease while they thought they were doing the right thing to prevent the diseases. So I would like to say emphatically here that diabetes is not directly caused by the consumption of sugar or sugary food. Sugar or sugary food is not the direct cause of diabetes. As we move on, we will get to know if there is anything that really causes diabetes or not. In my talk, my target is mainly people who are not health workers. So I prefer to explain every technical terms as much as I can, so that my listeners will benefit from whatever that I am saying and they will not be confused. It is easy talking to someone, another person who is a health worker. You don't need to explain certain key terms because he or she already knows. But speaking to people or persons who are not health workers, you just can't be mentioning certain technical terms where they may find it difficult to understand. Everything else we say will not really make meaning to them. So I prefer in my presentations to explain many technical terms that I use. Diabetes. What is diabetes? Well, diabetes is actually called diabetes mellitus or diabetes mellitus. That is the name for the disease diabetes. When we say mellitus or mellitus, what does it mean? Mellitus or mellitus is a Latin word which literally means sweetened with honey. Yes, diabetes mellitus. Mellitus means sweetened with honey. We do hear of this term blood sugar or blood glucose. What is blood sugar or blood glucose? Does it mean that we directly inject the normal sugar that we have in the blood? Is it the sugar that we take that gets into the blood. Is that what we call blood sugar or blood glucose? Well, it is not. When you eat food, carbohydrate especially, the body has to convert this carbohydrate or this food substance into a form for it to use or for the body cells to use. This body that you see is made up of billions of cells, tissues, organ system. So when you eat, the digestive system, the body has to convert this food that you eat in a form for it to use. It has to convert it into a certain kind of chemical for the body cells to use, and that is glucose or sugar. It is called sugar because when carbohydrate is converted by the body, it tastes sweet. Yes, when the body converts carbohydrate, the banku that you ate, the yam that you ate, when the body converts it into a form for its use, it tastes sweet. That is the reason why we say blood sugar or blood glucose. So this converted food, which is glucose or blood sugar, stays in the blood, and that is where the body cells pick and use. That is why it is referred to as blood sugar or blood glucose. It is not a direct sugar that we take that gets into the blood for us to have that name. Those living with diabetes, or if you live with someone with diabetes, you will realize that when the person urinates, ants may surround the spot where the person urinated. We know ants are attracted to sweets. So why would someone urinate, then ants would surround the place? The reason is that the urine contains sugar. Yes, the excess sugar that is in the blood is actually eliminated within the urine or through the urine. So when a person is diabetic, there is so much sugar within the blood which is not being used. So the body finds a way to eliminate the excess sugar from the body system. And the organ responsible for that is the kidney. So the kidney will, as a excretory organ, will try to control the excess sugar in the blood by eliminating it from the body system through urine. That is the reason why when a person having diabetes urinates, ants may surround the place, because the urine contains the excess sugar in the blood and it is sweet. Insulin is a chemical produced in the body by an organ called pancreas. The function of insulin is to control amount of sugar in the blood by reducing it. Or the function of insulin is to control blood sugar by reducing the amount of sugar in the blood. That is the function of insulin. When we eat food, when you eat large amount of food, you ate your banku, you ate your yam, you ate your rice. As we said earlier, it is converted into a form of sugar. That sugar is not meant to remain in the blood. The body cells, the hungry body cells or tissues are meant or are supposed to make use of this converted sugar within the blood. So the body organ pancreas produces this chemical insulin, which causes the body tissues, the body cells, to pick the sugar in the blood to make use of it, or they use it to generate energy. Another term worth noting is glucagon. I know many of us have not heard of this term glucagon. For insulin, people who are diabetic have heard of it. Glucagon is also a chemical substance produced by the body organ pancreas. The function of this chemical substance glucagon is to release excess sugar stored in the liver into the blood for the body cells to use. So when you are hungry, when you have not eaten and you are hungry, the body cells are also hungry. They need to get energy, they need to get source of nutrients. They need to get carbohydrates or glucose in order to function. So glucagon is also a chemical substance produced in the pancreas. Its function is to cause the liver to release sugar stored in the liver, to release them into the blood for the body cells to pick and use to generate energy. So the chemical substance insulin and the chemical substance glucagon work in opposite way, if I may say. Insulin reduces the amount of sugar in the blood by causing the body cells to make use of them. Glucagon release sugar or glucose into the blood if a person is hungry or a person has not eaten, for the hungry body cells to use to generate energy. If a person eats, if you eat and there is so much sugar in the blood, the production of glucagon is shut. The pancreas shuts down the production of glucagon so that it produces only the insulin, which will then lower the amount of sugar in the blood by causing the body cells to pick them and use. If there is less sugar in the blood, if a person has not eaten, a person is hungry, and the sugar level in the blood is low or reduced, the production of insulin is shut. The pancreas, the organ pancreas, shuts down the production of insulin so that it produces only the glucagon, which then releases stored glucose or sugar in the liver into the blood so that the body cells can now have a source of nutrients or food to generate energy for living. Let's look at amount of sugar expected in the blood to be considered normal. There are a range of values of amount of sugar expected in the blood, and anything outside those range of value is a problem or the development of a problem, the beginning of development of a problem. There is a medical machine used to measure the amount of sugar within the blood at any point in time. There are two ways we measure blood sugar. We have what we call the fasting blood sugar and then random blood sugar. I know many of us know about the fasting blood sugar because before you go to the hospital, the doctor tells you don't eat before coming because we will be checking your blood sugar. That is actually the fasting blood sugar from the word fasting. It means that the person has not eaten and then the sugar is checked and a certain amount is expected to be recorded. So the fasting blood sugar is the amount of sugar within the blood if a person has not eaten for at least 10 or 12 hours. That is fasting blood sugar. The random blood sugar is the amount of sugar within the blood after a person has eaten. So what is normal fasting blood sugar? That is, you have not eaten for 10 or 12 hours. What is the normal range of values? The normal range of values for fasting blood sugar is between 4 and 6. The normal range of values for fasting blood sugar is between 4 and 6. The unit I'm using here is millimole per liter. So if you check your blood sugar in the morning, if you have not eaten, you are expected to get values like 4.0 millimole per liter, 4.1 millimole per liter, 4.5 millimole per liter, 5.0 millimole per liter, 5.4 millimole per liter. West, 5.8 or 9 millimole per liter. And then let me see the worst of all, 6.0 millimole per liter. So if you check your blood sugar in the morning and you are getting values like 6.5, 6.8, 7.0 millimole per liter, then there is a concern over there. And over here too, you don't check it at once and get such values and then conclude that there is a problem, because a number of factors need to be considered here. What time did the person eat? What did the person eat? What time did the person go to sleep? All of these factors can influence the amount of sugar in the blood in the morning. So when you are getting those values just outside the normal range, you don't have to be alarmed, or you don't have to see it to be normal because the values are not so huge. But when you are getting those values outside the normal range, 6.0 and above, then you need to probe further. You need to check the blood sugar another time to see if you will still get those kind of values. There are a number of factors that can cause the blood sugar to be outside the normal range. You wake up in the morning, you have not eaten yet, but we have to go back and then check the time that you ate. What did you eat? What time did you sleep? All these are factors that can influence the value that we get when you check your sugar in the morning. That is why no one should check your sugar in the morning, and when it is outside the normal range of value, like 6.0, 6.57, and then the person tells you that you have diabetes. Yes, we have pre-diabetes. That is diabetes that is now about to develop. So when you are getting those values like 7.0, 6.5, 6.8, it could be pre-diabetes, and you need to take notice of it and take measures in order not to get the disease itself. So when you check your sugar and you are getting those higher values, that is the fasting blood sugar, and you are getting those higher values like 10.0 millimole per liter, 15.0 millimole per liter, then it is actually a serious cause for concern, and you have to go to the hospital to see a doctor, because it is a clear sign that the person has developed the disease diabetes. What is the normal value for random blood sugar? That is the value that you get after food, 2 hours later after food. The normal range of value for random blood sugar is between 4.8 millimole per liter to 8.0 millimole per liter. So after food, 2 hours after food, you are expected to get values like 4.8 millimole per liter, 5.0 millimole per liter, 5.5 millimole per liter, 6.0 millimole per liter, 7.0 millimole per liter. You could also get values like 7.5 millimole per liter up to 7.8 millimole per liter, even though those are of higher values. But when you check your blood sugar after food and you are getting values beyond 8.0 millimole per liter, then that should be a cause for concern. When you check your blood sugar after food and you are getting 8.5 millimole per liter, 9.0 millimole per liter, they are just outside the normal range of values. But don't be alarmed and don't relax also. As I do say, diabetes is also a chronic disease which does not develop overnight. It develops over a long period of time, and we have pre-diabetes, pre-diabetic, which means that the person is now developing the disease. So the values are just higher, just above the normal range, which is the 8, 9, 10. So when you check your sugar and you get those kind of values, don't be alarmed, don't relax about it. Just check it for some time, for 2, 3, 4 times. Write down the values and compare. So if you continue to get those kind of values just outside the normal range, kindly see the doctor. Let the doctor monitor further and give you a treatment in order not to get to the full-blown diabetic state of the disease, or to get full-blown diabetes. When a person is not diabetic, it doesn't really matter the kind of food that he or she has eaten. The body regulates the blood sugar within that range of values. Again, if after food you check your blood sugar and you are getting values like 15.0 millimole per liter, 20.0 millimole per liter, over here someone can directly say the person has developed diabetes, because as I said earlier, no matter how much food you ate, no matter what you ate, your body is supposed to regulate your sugar in the blood to that range, normal range of values that I have stated. So if after food you are getting values like 15.0, 15.5, 20.0 millimole per liter and above, then one can comfortably say the person has developed the disease diabetes. And the interesting part is that even at that stage of higher blood sugar level, the person might not feel sick. The person will be all right. The person might be experiencing the cardinal signs and symptoms of diabetes, which we'll be looking at later, but he or she will not actually take it seriously, or he or she has no knowledge about what those signs and symptoms are, and so the person will not take any measures to take care of it. Let's look at these two terms, hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. Hyperglycemia is abnormally high level of sugar in the blood, and then hypoglycemia is abnormally low level of sugar in the blood. Take note of these two terms as you'll be using them in other areas of the topic. Let's look at the definition of diabetes. Diabetes is a chronic disease associated mainly with abnormally high level of sugar in the blood due to 1. Absence of insulin or inadequate production of the hormone insulin. 2. Insensitivity of body cells to the action of insulin. Let me take it again. Diabetes is a chronic disease associated mainly with abnormally high level of sugar in the blood, 1. Due to absence of insulin or inadequate production of insulin, or insensitivity of body cells to the action of insulin. The key terms in the definition are chronic disease, absence of insulin or inadequate production of insulin, and insensitivity of body cells to the action of insulin. So basically, diabetes is a chronic disease, and it is mainly about abnormally high level of sugar in the blood, as we have seen in the definition. And the sugar becomes excessively high. The sugar is so much in the blood, it is not reducing. The body cannot control the amount of sugar in the blood at any time because of these two reasons, or because of one of these two reasons. When insulin production ceased, or when there is inadequate production of insulin, or when the body cell, the insulin is being produced, the insulin is there, it is produced, but the body cells are not responding to the action of the insulin to pick the glucose or sugar in the blood to make use of it, hence making it more within the blood, not reducing. So that is basically what diabetes is. And as we move further, we'll be looking at more meaning to it. There are two types of diabetes. We have type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. In fact, the two types of diabetes are based on two terms that are found in the definition of diabetes, and they are absence of insulin or inadequate production of insulin, and insensitivity of body cells to the action of insulin. So these two key terms in the definition of diabetes give the two types of what? Diabetes that we have, and we will be looking at each of them. Type 1 diabetes is when there is little or no production of insulin, and this occurs when there is complete destruction of the cells in the pancreas that produce the insulin, and the destruction of the cells in the pancreas is done by the body's own immune system. The body's immune system is a powerful protective element, and it protects the body system by attacking disease-causing agents or elements in the body. Unfortunately, there can be a situation where the immune system, the powerful protective elements, the immune system can turn on normal body cells or tissues and attack them and destroy them. So this is the case in type 1 diabetes, where the body's own immune system attack and destroy the cells in the pancreas that produce the insulin, which enables the body cells to pick glucose in the blood. And it is done at an early age. It is scientists observe that the destruction of the cells that produce the insulin occurs quickly, and it is done at an early stage of life. And that is why the type 1 diabetes is also called juvenile diabetes or insulin-dependent diabetes. Insulin-dependent diabetes because there is no production of the insulin. That is the reason why it should not be strange to you that a child 5 years, 4 years is down with diabetes. This is the reason, because it is not really some kind of factors like the person's lifestyle, eating of junk food that causes the disease, but it is unfortunately the person's own immune system that causes the disease by destroying the cells that produces the insulin to regulate the normal amount of sugar in the blood. Let's look at type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is also called adult onset diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is when body cells become insensitive to the effect of insulin. And this means that the insulin is being produced all right. The insulin is available all right, but the body cells and the body muscles are unable to respond to it and pick glucose from the blood and use. And once that happens, you see that more of the glucose will be collected in the blood, while, let me say, the hungry cells and muscles will not be able to get them to use for energy. So that is basically what type 2 diabetes is. So the difference between type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes is that in the type 1, there is no production of insulin, because the pancreas, the cells in the pancreas that produce the insulin are completely destroyed by the body's own immune system. And this shows quickly, and it occurs mostly in children. But in the type 2 diabetes, there is production of the insulin. Insulin is available, but for some reasons, unknown reasons, scientists are unable to explain the reason why in type 2 diabetes, body muscles or cells are unable to respond to the presence of the insulin to pick glucose from the blood. It clearly shows that we don't have direct cause of the disease diabetes. We only have risk factors that put a person at risk of developing the disease. But there is no way you can pinpoint one particular thing as the cause of the disease diabetes. That is why in my first submission I said sugar is not the direct cause of diabetes, as many have misunderstood. So we have a number of risk factors. We have a number of factors that are directly linked to the development of diabetes, especially the type 2. The type 2, we have a number of factors that are linked to the development of type 2 diabetes, and we will be looking at them as we move forward. These are some of the risk factors of type 2 diabetes. I'm saying type 2 diabetes because in the type 1 diabetes, it is not really about the lifestyle of the individual that predisposes the person to getting the disease. Type 1 diabetes is purely an autoimmune disease, which means that the disease is not really influenced by the person's choice of lifestyle. So the risk factors are relating to the type 2 diabetes, which is a typical lifestyle disease. One of the risk factors is age. We have age 45 years and above. So people who are 45 years and above are more at risk of getting type 2 diabetes. But in reality, when you come to the hospital, you find people age 30 years down with diabetes, type 2 diabetes. You find someone age 25 years with type 2 diabetes due to a lot of lifestyle changes. Another one is having excessive fat within the body, that is being overweight. It is observed that people who are obese, people who have put on excessive weight, are more at risk of getting type 2 diabetes. It is observed that accumulation of excessive fat in the body is what causes the resistance of the cells of the body to picking the glucose from the blood. Yes, scientists have observed that accumulation of excessive fat is what leads to the resistance of the cells of the body in picking glucose from the blood system. So people who are obese, people who are overweight, they are more at risk of getting type 2 diabetes. Another risk factor is physical inactivity or lack of exercise. So people who are physically inactive, people who do not exercise, they are also more at risk of getting type 2 diabetes. History of diabetes in the family. It is observed that diabetes can run through a family. Another risk factor is history of overweight at birth. So if you give birth to a child who was overweight, the child was overweight at birth, the weight was 4.5 kilograms and above, such child is more at risk of developing diabetes at later age. So you need to be aware and take precautionary measures right from the beginning, the lifestyle of the child, so as to reduce the chances of that child from developing the disease diabetes. We have gestational diabetes. Gestational diabetes is pregnancy-induced diabetes, which means that the individual or the lady or the woman was not having diabetes already. The person wasn't diabetic, but it was as a result of the pregnancy. This type of diabetes is expected to, let me say, go away after the pregnancy or after childbirth with time. But some people, the diabetes can persist, or the person has a chance of developing the major diabetes or the one that will stay with him or her in later age. Let's look at the signs and symptoms of diabetes. Every disease presents certain signs and symptoms. There are 4 cardinal signs and symptoms associated with diabetes. These 4 cardinal signs and symptoms, when presented by a person, can directly suggest that such person is having the disease diabetes. They are polyuria, polydipsia, polyphagia, and unexplained weight loss. These are the 4 cardinal signs and symptoms that can easily suggest that a person is with diabetes or a person is having diabetes. What is polyuria? Polyuria is passing of excessive urine, having frequent urination. Why does a person with diabetes pass so much urine? This is because, as I have explained earlier on, the kidney tries to eliminate excessive sugar within the blood, and it does that by concentrating the sugar within the urine and then eliminate it from the body. So the person tends to urinate frequently. A person with diabetes tends to urinate frequently. Sometimes they may even end up, a person with diabetes will even end up wetting him or herself, just because the kidney is working to control the excess sugar that is in the blood. Polydipsia is experiencing excessive thirst. Yes, a person with diabetes easily feels thirsty. And this is due to the fact that the individual loses so much fluid out of the body through excessive urination. So the kidney, as said earlier in polyuria, the kidney tends to eliminate excessive sugar in the blood by making the person to urinate a lot. So if the person is urinating frequently, abnormally urinating like that, the person tends to lose so much fluid, and that can make the person to feel thirsty easily. Polyphagia is excessive hunger. A person with diabetes easily gets what? Hungry. Yes, people with diabetes easily feel hungry because, as we have explained earlier, the person's cells are not having access to the glucose or the sugar in the blood, even though it is there, due to the problems that we have explained, that I have explained earlier on. So people with diabetes easily feel hungry. They may eat, but the body cells are not making use of the food that is within the blood. Unexplained weight loss. Yes, so if the person is eating, but the body cells are not making use of the food, then the person will definitely what? Grow lean. The person will definitely lose weight. And unexplained weight loss typically occurs in people with type 1 diabetes. In fact, people with type 2 diabetes can rather put on weight. That is one of the difference between type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. A person with type 1 diabetes tends to grow lean, and then a person with type 2 diabetes may rather grow bigger because the person eats a lot. Other serious signs and symptoms of diabetes include vision problem. A person with diabetes can easily develop problem with the eyes, and blindness is one of the complications of diabetes. We also have dryness of the skin. A person with diabetes experiences dryness of the skin due to excessive loss of fluid from the body, especially the kidney eliminating excessive fluid out of the body because it wants to excrete excess sugar that is accumulated in the blood. When a person with diabetes gets wound on the skin, that wound doesn't heal easily. Wound healing is extremely slow in a person with diabetes, and this is due to poor blood flow in the body system as sugar accumulates. A person with diabetes is prone to other infections due to weakened immune system. These are some of the signs and symptoms persons living with diabetes do experience or have, especially with those who have the disease but they do not properly manage it. So if you experience these signs and symptoms, kindly see the doctor to examine you, especially the 4 main ones that I mentioned earlier on. That are urinating too frequently. When you sleep over the night, you wake up more than necessary to urinate. That is polyuria. And you also experience extreme thirst. You drink water, but in no time you are thirsting again. So you need to see the doctor when you are having these experiences. Another one too is you easily feel hungry. You have eaten, but in no time you feel like you should eat again. That is polyphagia. So if you are experiencing these, kindly see the doctor. It is highly suggestive that you might be having diabetes. Another one is when the person is having unexplained weight loss. The person is eating all right, but the person is losing weight. Kindly see the doctor to examine you to make sure everything is fine, because these are the cardinal signs that a person might be having diabetes. Let's look at prevention of diabetes. Can diabetes be prevented? Well, one cannot completely block the occurrence of diabetes, but one can do so much to reduce the chances of getting diabetes. We have looked at the risk factors of diabetes. So if the individual can do something about the risk factors that we mentioned, then he or she is on course to reducing effectively the chances of developing this disease. What are some of the risk factors? We made mention that one of the key risk factors is accumulation of fat, excessive fat in the body. So if you don't want to experience diabetes, then cut down the intake of fatty food. Cut down food high in cholesterol, because accumulation of excessive fat in the body is a great risk of developing diabetes. Another one is family history. So if you are in a family that you see people are getting diabetes, your mom experienced or your mom has diabetes, your father has diabetes, your elder brother or sister has diabetes, your auntie or uncle has diabetes, then you have to be extra careful, because you have greater risk of getting the disease too. Another risk factor is physical inactivity or lack of exercising. So if you want to properly prevent the chances of developing diabetes, if you want to reduce the chance of developing diabetes to zero, then take physical exercising seriously. Make sure you keep fit. Unfortunately, as I did say during the presentation on hypertension, a lot of us in this part of the world, a lot of us, let me say specifically Ghanaians, a lot of us don't see the importance of keeping fit. A lot of us don't see the need to exercise. It looks so strange to many of us to wake up early in the morning and keep fit. But when you watch the lifestyle of the white people, if you go to the developed world, exercising is a normal routine thing everyone engages in. But unfortunately over here, we don't really see such kind of a lifestyle of keeping fit. And it is a big challenge, because if you really want to maintain your good health, if you want to live in an excellent health, you can't rule out keeping fit. You can't rule out exercising, because it is through the exercising that you detoxify the body. Exercising helps to detoxify the body. When you exercise, excessive fat accumulated in the body that you don't really need, you end up burning this fat, thereby maintaining your good health. So I am encouraging each and every one of us to take exercising or keeping fit seriously. As I said during the presentation of hypertension, when you are stressed up because of work, you are always going to work up and down. You don't have time to rest in between. You can't consider that as exercising. It is stress, and it is one of the key risk factors of developing hypertension. Exercising is, again, when you wake up early in the morning and then you do something that makes you sweat. Exercising is you wake up early in the morning and then you go to the gym to work out and then sweat. That is exercising. Exercising is you wake up in the morning and then you go on jogging. That is exercising. It is not always in the morning. Anytime that you are free, you have a routine time. That is exercising. So if you want to maintain your health, then take exercising seriously. I do go for jogging, and when I go to the place that I do jogging, a lot of people do come there. You see people who are in car parked to just exercise. You see people who are rich, they are in their cars parked and then take a walk or do jogging. It doesn't really mean that they have enough time on their side, but they do that because they know the importance of keeping fit or exercising to their health. So again, if you want to free yourself from the chances of developing diabetes, I am urging you to take exercising seriously. An obese person or a person who puts on too much weight is more at risk of developing diabetes. So if you want to reduce your chance of developing the disease, then put your weight in check. I think we need to change the mentality that when someone puts on extra weight is a sign of good living. That is the kind of mentality that many people have here, let me say in Ghana. People see putting on extra weight as a sign of good living. But I think such kind of notion is making a lot of people to just consume anything. They resort to consuming junk food, thereby putting on extra weight just to look good to others. Such kind of notion need to be changed. I believe in the developed world, to tell someone the person has put on extra weight is an offensive statement to make to someone, an individual. But over here, people see it as an admiration. People see it as praise. If the person sees you and you have that kind of a fat look, let me say, the person put on extra weight. The person, basically the person is fat. Such person sees it as an admiration. Such person sees it as a sign of good living. And so a lot of people are just eating anything. A lot of people unfortunately consume any kind of food just to look bulky for others to see that they are living good. But that should not be the case. I know there are people who are genetically bulky. So it is not a condemnation that once someone is bulky, the person is living in bad health. No. If someone is genetically bulky and the person keeps fit, if a person is naturally bulky and the person resort to healthy lifestyle, it is not a problem. The point I am making here, my problem is those who are not naturally bulky, all of a sudden take all kinds of things just to put on extra weight. That is where my problem is. If you think you are too slim, if you think you are growing lean and needed to put on some extra weight, then eat healthy food to achieve that. There are a lot of unhealthy food that can help someone to put on weight. Avoid those kind of food. Make sure you eat more of fish. Eat lean meat. Reduce the intake of red meat. Make sure you consume more of fruits and vegetables. There are a lot of food over there that you can eat to put on healthy weight. If you think you are too slim or you are growing lean, don't just go to the shopping mall to buy any kind of food to eat. Before you pick any food to pay for, make sure you look on the label and read the chemical makeup or content of the food. Read the fat level, read the cholesterol level, read the sugar level of the food before you buy the food. Be health conscious, be conscious about the kind of food that you eat. Again, a lot of unhealthy food one can consume to put on weight, which is not healthy. One of the best ways to prevent diabetes is to check your blood sugar once in a while. You don't have to wait and be sick before going to the hospital to check some of these things. Diabetes is a typical chronic disease, as I have said earlier. It can stay with an individual for years without showing up. But if you check your blood sugar often, you will be able to detect if the values are within the normal range that I have mentioned earlier on. So if you check your blood sugar often and then you see that you are getting figures outside the normal range, then you take precautionary measures early so as not to advance to the full-blown disease. These are some of the measures one can take to prevent diabetes or reduce the chance of getting the disease. These preventive measures relate to type 2 diabetes and not type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is mainly a lifestyle disease. Type 1 diabetes is not a lifestyle disease. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease and one can do little about it. But the type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle disease, and if we can do something about the risk factors which relate to lifestyle, then we are on course to reducing the risk of getting this disease. Type 2 diabetes is one of the commonest diseases that we have currently. The next area to look at is management of diabetes. If you already have diabetes, if one already diagnosed of diabetes, what measures he or she can take to put the disease under control? If you are ready to properly manage diabetes, then you don't have to worry once you have it already. But if you are not ready to manage diabetes, then take the preventive measures that we have mentioned in order not to get there, because the management of diabetes is very, very expensive. You have to manage it like you are nursing a baby.